Crossovers in anything are innately a crazy concept. Two worlds or universes colliding on the same screen, I mean, it's weird to see, but this is especially true in animation. Because animation is so loose and freeing and you can really do anything with it, it's the easiest thing in the world to do a crossover, and that's why a lot of shows have done it. But some of these crossovers are absolutely insane, and that's what I want to talk about today. Guys, welcome back to the Roundtable. I'm Nemo, and today we're talking about the top 10 WTF crossovers, in no particular order.
Up next, the award for Best Steven Universe episode goes to... I can't believe it.
I want to start off this list with one of the most controversial crossovers I think has ever aired. The Uncle Grandpa Steven Universe crossover, Say Uncle. Now, for a lot of heavy Steven Universe fans, this crossover might not even be on their radar. It aired an incredibly long time ago, and it was very early off in the series, before any of the big lore stuff in Steven Universe even dropped, and the show was a lot simpler. These two shows ended up colliding in the weirdest way. Now, if I'm being honest, a lot of people hate this crossover special. They give it like a lot of flack. In fact, Uncle Grandpa as a show is pretty controversial. A lot of people hated it, but I'm here to be devil's advocate for a second because this is one of the funniest crossover specials of all time, and I'm going out on a limb and saying that it's incredibly underrated. The plotline follows Uncle Grandpa visiting Steven, trying to help him out when he can't get his gem to work, and they just push this concept to the max. Not only is this completely hilarious, filled with great gags and one-off jokes, the entire thing is like a love letter to Cartoon Network. It's full of inside jokes in the industry and the show, like when Lars and Sadie are on a ship that's sinking and they say, "Oh no, our ship," or Mr. Gus is actually making a gem sona on the computer. All these fourth wall breaks work in the best way. It's just really hilarious. Plus, somebody on the internet actually figured out that Uncle Grandpa's nose could be his gem, and it was just a great thing. Plus, the ending scene where Uncle Grandpa decides who he's gonna help next, and we see a long laundry list of Cartoon Network characters. It's just absolutely delightful. And so, if you saw this originally airing and you were against Uncle Grandpa, or you thought it was stupid, I urge you to give it a second chance, because in my opinion, it is one of the greatest crossovers of all time.
Protecting him activated Steven's powers?
He must really care about this stranger.
I hope he didn't care about that pizza.
Number 9, The Grim Adventures of the K&D. These are two incredibly different shows, both in tone and storytelling, and I stand by the fact that I think it's just that they aired at the same time that we even got this crossover. But dear lord, I'm so glad we did. In terms of Cartoon Network crossovers, this one is absolutely legendary. I mean, these are two of the greatest Cartoon Network shows of all time colliding. The episode has a simple enough concept of Billy breaking his dad's favorite pair of pants and requesting the help of the kids next door to fix his problem. That's why it's so great. They don't do any elaborate introduction. They don't really even explain how these two shows are in the same universe. The kids next door just show up at Billy's front door and mention how they try to avoid that town, because why wouldn't they? It's terrifying. Oh my god. We even get an Ed, Edd and Eddy cameo and a Powerpuff Girls reference. I don't want to give you a play-by-play of this crossover because honestly you should just watch it for yourself. It's hilarious. But everything from the updated theme song that they did to the fact that the characters are just in their same style, they don't even try to merge the styles at all, makes this one of my favorite goofy crossovers of all time. And this is just a great product of its time. I mean, both of these shows were in their peaks, and if you're not convinced, Fredburger is in it, okay? Even more references.
I like TV shows that have monkeys that go to camp, and sometimes I like TV shows that have imaginary friends instead of monkeys.
Look, if you want to see Mandy dressed as Number One taking over the kids next door, or how about Number One just chilling with Grim, or if you even want to see the delightful children from down the lane fuse with Grim's scythe, it's metal as heck. It's amazing. Honestly, this special was just both of these shows knocked to the max, and you should definitely give it a watch.
Mandy's new dictator, Man Robot. Monkeys and nice doggies relax on bellies of turtles.
What kind of acronym is that? Well, if you weren't in such a rush, maybe I could have come up with a better one.
So obviously, you know why we're here.
No idea. But you 5 people who came to the diaper barge and jumped on me. This is the best day of my life, baby.
This is our first crossover on the list. That's a cartoon and a live-action series. And I'm just gonna be very vocal about how I feel about this. Queer Eye is an incredible show, okay? Big Mouth is a controversial show, and I don't know how to feel about it, but a lot of people like it. This crossover is weird. Just first of all, seeing the Queer Eye characters in the Big Mouth art style, absolutely terrifying. But there's kind of a charm to it, if that makes any sense. Both of these are Netflix shows, so just is the easiest thing in the world for them to cross over. I totally see how it happened. Basically, the Queer Eye team helps Coach Steve get his life together. It's actually pretty funny, I cannot lie. They visit him in like a diaper barge. It's just like the classic show. And honestly, it's not that cringy of a crossover. I kind of liked it a lot. All of the Queer Eye team is playing itself. In fact, I remember there being like articles about this when it came out, weirdly enough. Like it was some sort of event. It wasn't. I have no gripes, except for the fact that the Queer Eye boys look disgusting in the Big Mouth art style. But if you're a fan of both shows and you haven't seen this crossover, even though it's just kind of a gag, it's definitely worth watching, as weird as it is.
Oh, I love you too. I'm not gonna miss you, girl.
Come out of the whistle now. Come out and be with me. Be with me now outside of the whistle. Outside now, please.
Huh. Guess we're in a town called Springfield.
Springfield, eh? What state?
I can't imagine we're allowed to say.
Number 7. The family Simpsons. What was it? The Simpsons Guy. This is cursed. Family Guy and The Simpsons are the Coke and Pepsi of animation, okay? You can say they're similar, you can say they're different. The point is, they're two giant primetime family comedies following a dumb dad and his crazy family, and like a hot wife, subjectively. I don't know if you find either of them hot, I don't. The two were at odds for a while. I mean, the two were never really at odds, okay? But like, people would pit them together, what's better, Family Guy or The Simpsons? And though The Simpsons had years on Family Guy and way more of a cultural impact, there was no clear answer. Subjectively, I think there's a clear answer, but I won't tell you how to feel. The problem is, this crossover came just way too late. It was the season 13 premiere of Family Guy. It came out in 2014, years after both of these shows had hit their stride, their prime. So honestly, when this came up on a lot of people's radar, it was like, okay, cool, I don't really care. Yeah, it was kind of an event, but honestly, the whole crossover just felt like lukewarm. There's some sort of lazy introduction about the Griffins going to Springfield, and then this gorgeously gross spin around shot as they see it. It's about what you'd expect. Almost all of the jokes in this episode are meta jokes, fourth wall breaking comedy about the two shows. Some of them land, others don't. There's not too much here. It's not overtly bad, okay? I'm not trying to be super cynical. It has its moments. And of course, it's cool seeing Peter Griffin interact with Homer Simpson. That's something people have been wanting to see forever. The special just feels kind of flat overall. There's a super smart metaphor between the two beers that the characters drink and actually ends up with Peter Griffin going to court. That's funny. I will back that up, and I think that's a really smart way of addressing how similar the two shows are perceived. But it ends on like this really violent fight between Homer Simpson and Peter Griffin. It's like a chicken fight thing. I've never been a fan of the chicken fight running joke that Family Guy has, so honestly, I wasn't too thrilled to see it in this special. You can watch this for yourself and form your own opinion, but overall, it was necessary in a weird way, albeit just way too late.
What are you still doing here?
I think you're gonna get a kick out of this. You're parked behind me at your place.
That is funny.
Do you know Green Lantern?
Okay, I might get in trouble for putting this one on the list, but I want to talk about this. I've wanted to talk about this for a very long time. The Adventures of Seinfeld and Superman was this weird crossover ad campaign by American Express that came out in 2004, way after Seinfeld even aired. It basically followed the interactions of Jerry Seinfeld and actual Superman fully animated in the real world. It was amazing. Honestly, it just speaks for itself. Superman was voiced by Patrick Warburton. That beautiful, deep voice of his fits perfectly. But because it's Jerry Seinfeld, we just see Superman in like everyday scenarios, like waiting for a table at a restaurant, talking about a reservation, or setting up a stereo with surround sound. Even though this was an ad, I'm kind of glad it happened because it gave us the weirdest crossover I've ever seen. I mean, not even a lot of people remember or know about this, so I kind of mention it every second I can because I just want people to know that Jerry Seinfeld had a series where he was hanging out with Superman, and it was weird. That's all I gotta say. If this is a crossover, it's animated, it counts. Beat me up in the comments.
That's super hearing. Yeah, but it's not surround sound. I mean surround sound. It's like you're there.
What are you talking about?
I'm Buttercup, and that's Bubbles and Blossom.
Well, I am Chico, and that's Chewy and Chappy.
What's wrong with these guys?
I don't like to bash on things, okay? I don't like to be overtly mean to anything or to slam something because I don't like it. Every piece of animation is also a team of people working incredibly hard, long hours to make it happen. Whether or not you like it, you have to acknowledge that work was put into it and people cared about it. But the Teen Titans Go and Powerpuff Girls crossover, I hate it. I just hate it. No disrespect. There's something overtly wrong about this, and both of these shows have a bad enough rap as it is, but this is the definition of a stale fanfiction-ass crossover that did not need to happen. I could tell you the plot, I could explain what happened in it, but the bottom line is, these are two controversial reboots of a show on the screen at the same time. It's already a recipe for disaster. And like I mentioned, the whole thing just feels incredibly one-tone and stale. A lot of it doesn't make any sense. Why would the Teen Titans refer to the Powerpuff Girls as being babies? They're literally teenagers, like they are children themselves. Not to mention the fact that it's incredibly weird to see Tara Strong voice acting as a character on screen alongside another character she used to voice but doesn't voice anymore. It just feels like a fan fiction in the worst way. It's not bad, it's just meh. As far as crossovers goes, it's pretty low on my list. It's also weird to see because these are characters that I grew up watching, the Powerpuff Girls, the original Teen Titans, except this special was not made for me. It wasn't aimed at my age group, it wasn't aimed at my generation of kids. It was aimed at like the younger version of kids that are watching Teen Titans. The way that's kind of magical, but again, it's just a weird experience to see. I guess if there's any silver lining, these two shows aired pretty far apart, so it's cool to see them together on screen, even if it is the weirdest circumstance.
And so, once again, the day is saved. No thanks to the Teen Titans. Seriously, what is wrong with those guys?
Even the smallest of good deeds makes a big difference towards helping our planet.
OKKO had a crossover with Captain Planet. This is a testament to everything that makes OKKO good. Captain Planet is the weirdest, most outdated character they could have chosen to do a crossover with especially, but they did it anyways. It's a beautiful love letter to Captain Planet filled with references to the original series. They have all the original characters together in this closing PSA in their beautiful art style. Just immaculate. The fact that they made it happen at all is insane, and it's cool to see KO fight pollution. In a weird way, Captain Planet is more topical now as a message than it's ever been. Plus, it's cool to see the OKKO cast with all the Captain Planet rings. It's a wholesome and cute special, but I think it's kind of a risk because a lot of people that watched OKKO probably had no idea who Captain Planet was, but for those of us who did, it was beautiful and it was a treat. Yeah, that's pretty much the best crossover OKKO ever had. I mean, can't think of any other ones, so I guess we just move on. Did I fool you? Crossover Nexus is one of the ultimate Cartoon Network crossovers of all time, if not the ultimate Cartoon Network crossover. They went all out, finding old character models, making sure people were included, and making this the most Cartoon Network crossover that they possibly could. I would describe it as a crossover for this generation of characters, for our generation of Cartoon Network viewers who grew up watching a lot of the shows that were in the special. I never thought I'd see Garnet interacting with Ben Tennyson or even Raven, but it's beautiful that they were all brought together. I mean, they literally fought in CN City. Like, that is canon, that is real, and it's incredibly amazing. Plus, this punch shot at the very end was a great way of fitting in all the characters that they couldn't. And honestly, it's the crossover of this generation. It's really great to see this generation of animation being represented and giving a platform to be remembered, because honestly, it should be. In terms of crossovers, OKKO does it right. These aren't even the only two crossovers OKKO has done. Seriously, this show is a masterclass in how to do a cartoon crossover. They do it right almost every time.
Finally, this crossover's over. Wait a minute. Zinthos! Phew, close call.
I wish I was in the greatest lab in the universe! Whoa. Hey, why is everything so bulgy?
Number 3, the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour. Come on, you know this was going to be on the list at some point. It's legendary. The two shows in question, Fairly Odd Parents and Jimmy Neutron, are responsible for some of the most well-loved and remembered crossovers of all time. Was it weird to see their art styles merging? Yes. Is it aging even weirder every day? Yes. But is it absolutely perfect? It is. This was definitely a product of its time, but a welcomed one. Everything from the Boombox theme song to the fact that they made 3 of these just shows how incredible the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour was and how well remembered it was. This is also the golden age of both of these shows, which resulted in the best outcome ever. The first installment is the smartest. It had such a strong start. The first installment, which Timmy gets stuck in Jimmy's world and Jimmy gets stuck in Timmy's world, and they both have to figure out how to get back, constantly cutting back between the two, interacting in each other's worlds and trying to figure out how they work, was brilliant, and it let them point out how weird the two worlds of each show were, while embracing what made each individual show special. It makes sense that they made 2 more. This is like the perfect recipe. These 2 shows just fit together in a way that's almost impossible to describe, but you just have to watch. But look, no matter how great this was, to me looks weird as in the Jimmy Neutron art style. I'm just saying, I'm gonna be that guy. But it doesn't matter at the end of the day, because as far as crossovers go, this one is an absolute classic.
Did you know you have a mole on your ankle?
Do I know you?
Why don't you have a mole on your ankle?
Scooby-Doo. Just Scooby-Doo. If you are talking crossovers, you cannot go without mentioning Scooby-Doo. It is the ultimate crossover show. Everything from the crazy weird home movies they made, featuring crossovers with Kiss and John Cena. They do not care, and it leads to some of the best crossover specials of all time. The gang could just be walking along a cliff, and then a boulder falls, and all of a sudden John Cena jumps in and saves them. It's beautiful. But it goes beyond those movie crossovers too. There's some pretty classic ones, like the Johnny Bravo Scooby-Doo crossover, which in my opinion is the funniest Scooby-Doo crossover I've ever seen. Johnny Bravo is innately hilarious as a concept, but having Johnny Bravo on kind of allowed them to poke fun at the Scooby-Doo formula in a way that seemed like everybody was in on the joke. And that's kind of how you do it. Classic lines like, "Jinkies, what is that, a breakfast cereal?" And Fred just deadass saying he wants to be alone with Daphne, down to them making fun of the door dynamic, is just really good.
Who's that?
Weirdly enough, I have no idea how to describe this in any other way, but the music that plays when they fall down the stairs is the same from that penis music meme. I don't know how these are connected. I don't want to pretend like I'll ever know. I just need to point this out because it's incredible.
You want to talk about more recent ones? Because it's not stopping anytime soon. One of the weirdest crossovers I never expected to see, one that actually made me want to do this list in the first place, was the Scooby-Doo Supernatural crossover. I mean, it's Supernatural and Scooby-Doo. Well, I don't even know how else to pitch that. The Supernatural boys are just so charming. It's a literal jump into the TV plotline. I just cannot believe this exists. Two beefy boys hanging out with the gang. It's just beautiful to see. Teen fangirling about Scooby-Doo is really us as the fans. I mean, it's kind of a classic scenario of what would happen if we got zapped into the Scooby-Doo world. And the humor is pretty dark, I will not lie. They're not afraid to go in weird places.
Okay, but he's dead now, right?
Yeah, cancer.
It's so weird and delightful, and I didn't know I wanted it until now. And that's how all of the Scooby-Doo crossovers go. You never think you want them, and then you get them anyways, and they're incredible. But there's one more Scooby-Doo crossover that I haven't mentioned. You might be watching this and kind of upset right now, because not a lot of people even know about this show. But Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, is the greatest crossover of all time. It's an adult animated comedy following a law firm that helps Hanna-Barbera cartoons. He's a lawyer for cartoon characters. I'm gonna let that sink in because that's the greatest concept of all time. This show is hilarious and incredibly surreal. Seeing classic Hanna-Barbera cartoon characters in adult situations is weird enough. Under the guise of a Birdman superhero lawyer, it's even weirder, but it works so well. If you're not sold yet, I want to talk about Scooby-Doo's cameo in this because it's perfect. Shaggy and Scooby get busted for weed. This is real. This is a real show. This isn't some YouTube parody. This is like licensed and everything. It opens with live action footage taken from a police car with a live action mystery machine as Shaggy and Scooby get busted for smoking dope. They even took clips from the show out of context that made them look high. This was real. Why does no one talk about this? If I could, I would describe it as Space Coast humor. And it's got that good limited animation that works just enough but isn't too crazy. Very Adult Swim. It's even better because it even has the original Scooby-Doo cast voicing the characters. It's just really surreal to watch. It's a cartoon law show. And if you're a fan of Hanna-Barbera, this is the ultimate show to watch. It's a parody that's real. But even the show's original characters are great. Harvey is delightful and hilarious. He's sort of like a space ghost Archer type. And the law subplots, the other lawyers he works with, they're all hilarious on their own. If you ever want to see Fred Flintstone in a strip club, this is the show for you. If you haven't seen Harvey Birdman, you need to. There's 4 seasons of this show, and I wish there were more, but I'm willing to say this is the greatest and most underrated crossover of all time.
So you mean to tell me they weren't?
Hi. Nope, they're just stupid.
I'll see what I can do.
Well, there you guys go. Hopefully by now you have a pretty good list of cartoon crossovers to watch, if you've been needing those, I don't know. But as always, I want to know what you guys think about all of this. Do you agree with this list? Is there a crossover I left out that you wanted to see? Is there one that you think I should take off? Let us know in those comments down below, or tweet to us at Roundtable Vids or me at @TreasureNemo. If you want to consider helping out the Roundtable, you can become a member of the channel or support some Patreon and get exclusive access to scripts and avatars. As always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give a like, share it, and subscribe to the Roundtable for more incredible cartoon content just like this. As always, guys, I'm Nemo. This is the Cartoon Top 10, and I will see you next time. Peace.